What's up guys, we're back with another Dragon Ball Z SH Figuarts review, rounding out the Ginyu Force. We are taking a look, finally, at my favorite member of the team, and Guldo. So we're getting BURTER, finally, to round out the team as a Bandai exclusive, and he comes with Guldo, kind of like a two-pack. Guldo's not really a figure, he's sort of like a statue accessory thing, but we are getting the finishing touches of one of my favorite Dragon Ball things ever in the Ginyu Force. So we got him here in the standard style package for the line, but this is a little bit bigger just because he's a big figure and he has Guldo in there as well. So you've got the window, you've got the sort of product shots that run along the side featuring both figures, and then the spine has got a handful of product shots as usual, and then in typical fashion for the line, you've got the back with a huge spread of product shots showcasing how they move, and then some of the accessories that they come with as well. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our SH Figuarts BURTER. This guy is one, again, that I have really been looking forward to. He is my favorite member of the Ginyu Force. It really all comes down to just his overall design. I love his head sculpt, or I love his head design when it comes to the character itself. I love his color, and yeah, I'm just really excited to be able to finish this team. We don't often get to exactly finish stuff when it comes to Dragon Ball Figuarts, but this is a very finite thing that they were really able to just pump out quickly, and I'm really happy with the way they managed to get all these out. And unfortunately, my favorite was the last, but at the same time, for me, save hopefully the best for last. So let's get started, see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. He's very similar to pretty much every other armored figure we've gotten recently. That's not a negative, it's just sort of what he is. So we got our head here. He can look up really good. This is on a normal ball peg too, I should mention. It's not on that sort of weird plate system like Ginyu was on, for example. It's just a normal ball peg, which I'm very happy with. So he can look up, he can look down. Of course, as usual, the neck is articulated as well. You can obviously see that, so it does help quite a bit. As far as tilt goes, I mean, that's probably further than you're ever going to need. And then you've, of course, got rotation all the way around. We've got our movable shoulder pads, of course, pretty normal for these kind of figures now. Arms go up, and it does, of course, help to just get him moving. You do have a butterfly joint in there, so you can get him to pull all the way out. That's kind of janky looking, but how often are you going to display him like that? So he can reach across his chest actually pretty far. It is kind of weird looking, and you got to kind of position it right, but he has really good range there. You do have your rotation. You do have to watch the shoulder pad here, but it's more than enough, so I don't have any issues with that. There is a drop down at the shoulder as well, and then you've got your bicep swivel. We've got double jointed elbows, so really good range there. And then at the wrists, you've got just pegs. So you can, just normal ball pegs, pretty normal for this stuff. So you've got a little bit of hinge in and out, and then you've got rotation there. We've, of course, got our diaphragm cut, so he goes backwards a little bit. Forwards a good bit, too. Watch, cutting across these armor pieces here. We've got good tilt side to side. This is not really a rotation joint. It's mostly for your tilt forward, backward, side to side. But he does get a little bit. There's a little shimmy there. And then you've got full rotation at the waist. There's also a little bobble back and forth and side to side. So it all kind of works in concert with each other just to make him move a little bit more seamlessly. Legs go out almost all the way. It's not full splits, but it's really close. They kick forward all the way. You've got, that's not natural, but he can really do it, so you can get him to kick all the way back if you need to do that. We do have our thigh twist there. We've got double jointed knees, of course, and they go pretty far back. He's got some sort of chunky legs, so they're not, kicking your own butt, but close enough. And then we've got ball pegs down at the ankles, so he's a little limited here because he's got kind of the big tubes for the boots. He goes back and forth a little bit. You do get some decent rocker out of that, though. Like, surprisingly, there's a good enough cavity on the top of that foot to allow for some really good movement there. And then you can also rotate all the way around. And, of course, you've got your toe hinge. So, yeah, he moves just fine. There's really nothing to write home about that's any different than anything else. He moves very similarly to a lot of the other figures we've seen recently. But, again, that's not a negative. They've really done a lot of work to make these figures move nicely when it comes to this format, because as we've seen, there have been a lot of figures that share this kind of design in the past year, and I think BURTER is a really good example of what these figures are capable of now. In that same vein, I'm also very happy aesthetically as well because, well, this guy looks just like he should, and that's pretty much the end-all be-all of it. He looks like he should. I could probably see the argument in some instances that he's yet another figure that doesn't have any shading on him. I'm not too hung up on that because his skin is so textured that it's going to pick up the light in such a way that he's kind of going to shade himself a little bit. He could always use a little bit of maybe like a darker blue in some of that musculature, but I mean, at face value, I think he looks fantastic, and frankly, he's going to go really, really well with the rest of the Ginyu Force. And of course, I will be doing size comparisons, and we'll talk about them as a team here in a bit, because of course there is another member in this box, but he's kind of like a pack-in buddy, really. But I think Burter looks fantastic. The piping on the armor looks really well done. It's super bright, vibrant white in contrast to this really, really shiny black. It's almost kind of like a fingerprint magnet, unfortunately. The Ginyu Force logo is tampoed nicely on there. All the colors are really saturated and clean and crisp, and I do really like the finish difference between the armor plating and the pants. So the pants are a very matte finish. Of course, there is a lot of musculature in there as well. So, they're going to pick up the light pretty well also. And then you've got your stark white boots with the brown toes that, of course, kind of tie the figure together. You have the midsection and then the shoulder pads. The shoulder pads are ridiculously large in a good way. They're supposed to be sort of oversized, and him being so tall and kind of broad-chested as well, they look even bigger on him than a lot of the other figures, which again, I don't find to be a negative. I love the texture on the skin. So he's got all those little I don't know, kind of like space zits almost all over his body, everywhere. On his hands, it's on every part of his blue skin except for the head. And then he's got it all over his neck. He's got it on like the clavicle region, all down the arms, and then on the hands as well. And I think he looks great. It's a nice little detail that's pretty specific to this particular figure that I think they did a good job to bring out, because if he was super just sort of flat and plain, it would look really, really awkward. But instead, he does have this little bit of added depth because he does have something that is a little bit out of the norm. You don't see a figure, at least in this line, with all these little bumps and things all over the body. So he is kind of a standout in that regard, especially compared to the rest of the Ginyu Force also. And then, of course, you've got what is probably my favorite aspect of this figure outside of his size is the head sculpt, because that's the one thing that I've always liked about this particular character is this head design, the shape. It's very Final Form Frieza-esque in some ways, and I do really like that. I love the ridges that run down the head, and he's got this just massive cranium with like a really small face, if that makes any sense. So you've got all those facial features just sort of crammed into a really small area, and he's got those super, super red evil eyes. Of course, you do have a scouter on this guy, which looks really good, green translucent screen there. And then he has, what I really like is his like smarmy little smirk, because of course Burter thinks he is like, the end all be all when he's very much not nearly as strong as he thinks he is, but he has this super, super massive ego and, overconfidence type of thing going on, and it comes through in this particular head sculpt, and then of course that very specific expression and smirk on his face. So from head to toe, very happy with this guy. He moves really well, but he also very much looks the part. Now, as far as accessories goes, of course, Guldo is in this box, but he's not really an accessory for Burter. He's his own thing, a little pack-in extra, sort of. As far as the stuff that is specific for Burter, he is a little bit on the light side. Granted, there's not a lot that he can truly have, and with Guldo being in this box, I'm sure space and funds were limited on what they could have done, so he has kind of the bare minimum: head, hands, and then he also, of course, gets a Namekian Dragon Ball. So to start with, we do get our extra head sculpt, and this is just him being super angry with his mouth open, yelling, which does look really good. I'm very happy with this. I don't think it trumps the smirk kind of expression head sculpt he has, but I do like this. So this is very much an action-oriented head sculpt and expression. You do have to swap the scouter, so you only get one scouter, and it just pegs into the side of the head, so pop it out and put it on here. We do get some extra hands, so you get a set of open palm, sort of slight gripping hands. Of course, these are very much something you can use for a fighting pose, but also for holding the Dragon Ball. We get a set of flat palm open hands, so just sort of like karate chop almost, and these are of course very much in use when he does some of his posing. And then we also get another set of similar hands, but these have the joint on the top. So of course they can sort of splay the hands out a little bit differently. And you've got more flat palm hands that will allow him to have his arms completely outstretched and have the hands also going fully out as well. And then last but not least, this guy does come with a Dragon Ball, and he gets the 6-star ball to give us yet another of these massive marble-style Dragon Balls. So again, he doesn't come with a ton of stuff. There is a very big thing in this package beyond this, but as far as the stuff just for Burter, it is kind of on the small side for what we've been seeing lately, but at the same time, I think I've got just about everything I truly need. I'd love an effect part as usual. I say that every time there isn't one in here, but since Guldo's in the box, it's almost a situation where I kind of want to give it a pass. Kind of. Of course, we also have to talk about the other thing that's in this package, and this is a weird entry in the Dragon Ball line. I'm not necessarily for or against the idea behind this, it's just sort of weird, because as we saw, Guldo has been released by a third party as a fully articulated figure, but Bandai decided to go a different route and just give us kind of like almost like a pseudo statue with removable parts. So Guldo is not really a figure. He's a figure. He's not an action figure. He's very low on the action aspect of an action figure. He does have some articulation. You can move his head around, but that is it. And it's really just meant to look straight, and then it's meant to look to his right, your left. So the whole point of this is to put him in some of the iconic poses for the team and for the roll call. I do like the way he looks, and I'm not against what they did here. Like I said, I'm neither for nor against it, really. It's just kind of different and odd. But I think he looks fantastic. And the reason why I'm not so upset about this is because he is such a fat, squatty little thing that I'm not so sure how well this guy would move. I don't have, what is it, the demoniacal fit? Is that who did it? I don't have that. I've never gone down that road, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad or whatever, indifferent the other way. You know, you'll have to make that determination for yourself. But I think, as a pack-in guy, that I would never likely take out of one of these poses anyway. Probably not too big a deal, right? I do think the body that they gave us looks pretty good. I mean, it's kind of just this big fat ball in Frieza Army armor here. And of course, he comes out of the box in this particular pose. You've got the kind of bulbousy sort of fish head type situation going on here. Greens look really good, very much like the color that I would expect him to be. That sort of scowl and the sort of wrinkles all over his jowly face look really good. The eyes are really clean and crisp, and overall colors I think are nicely done. He's also sized pretty well also. I don't think he's too big or too small here really. And then like I said, he does have removable parts. So the arms come out, and basically you just pop them out. They're just like anything else. If you've ever had a statue, that has swappable parts, you know what's going on here. So just pop them out, and these things are keyed, so you can put these guys in. Well, I'm already doing it wrong. So like I said, they're keyed, so pay attention. And you just pop them in, and now you can do this one, and that's like, that's like the other big pose. This is probably how I would display them on my shelf, I think. I say that and I'll probably do the other one. But I'm happy that at the very least they did this. I do think that it is kind of an odd thing for a Figuarts release to see something like this, but at the same time, I do kind of like it. He looks good. The head is capable of moving to give you at least a couple display options, and he does have these swappable parts to allow for two of his very iconic poses when it comes to doing the pose with the team, the roll call, and all that stuff. So it is a different approach to releasing a figure. He is very low on the action aspect of things, but he does look pretty good. And then here we go with our size comparison after all is said and done, so we get an idea of what all these guys look like next to each other. And it's pretty obvious once you get them right next to each other just how big Burter is, because, well, in a general sense, Captain Ginyu himself is on the larger side of Figuarts. Recoome is absolutely massive. Burter is a different size, though. He's taller than Recoome. Not by a lot, but he has much, much broader shoulders, and of course, like I mentioned, he's got those crazy big shoulder pads as a result. but he just has a lot more oomph to him, I think. This guy right here reminds me of, say, like a Broly, or in some ways, Nappa Raditz more specifically. But Burter is very different. He is like a very V-shaped kind of character, whereas Raccoon and Nappa and Raditz are really like barrel-chested and tree trunk leg kind of figures. He gets more tightened in. He's a little bit more agile and nimble than he is this massive hulking bruiser type of character. So I think he has a great deal of size, but he also is a little bit different in a way. And then of course you've got Jace here to give you an idea of what a more normal Figuarts looks like alongside him. So of course, he's similar in size to a Saiyan. And then we've got our little Guldo down here at the bottom, and he is, he only comes up about to the sort of torso joint on Jace, and he is of course a rotund little guy. But then let's do, just another thing, because of course we don't have a lot of stuff that truly goes with these guys when it comes to Figuarts, because we don't have an updated Vegeta Saiyan armor. We don't have Saiyan armor Gohan or Krillin, but of course they do tangle with Goku, and you can get an idea here of what he looks like alongside these guys as well. And of course he's a little bit taller than Jace, but he's dwarfed by the rest of these guys, well, except for Guldo. So I think this is a really solid set of figures. They have a lot of similarities, but they are all very unique in their own ways. When you get them all together, you'll see just how each one is a little bit different. Some share some ideas of design, like Jace and Raccoon and Guldo have similar styles of torso armor, whereas Ginyu and Burter have similar styles, but then they all have differences when it comes to like the skirt pieces and things like that. And then the overall build of each character is just so wildly different, not to mention the fact that they are all just really different sizes, and it all comes together really nicely once you finally get the full team all in one spot. So yeah, overall this is a winner for me. And granted, I'm a little biased because I love this character. I say that for a character that really has almost nothing to do in this show, but I love his design, and I love sort of the attitude that he and Jace combined kind of exude in this particular saga. Of course, it's also the thing that I watched like a billion times when this particular thing looped on Toonami for a couple of years while we waited for more Dragon Ball stuff. I do think, however, that the figure is incredibly well done. He moves very well. He is just like he jumped right out of the show, basically. And while he does come with a small amount of accessories specific to him, we get Guldo in the box. And despite the fact that he is just sort of a fat little blob figure with a moving head, he looks fantastic. And let's face it, most of us are going to put these guys in a team shot in their iconic pose, and Guldo is capable of doing that, and frankly, that's really all I need. I do wish that he had an effect part of some kind just to get some crazy blast going with a Jace setup, but otherwise, this is a really, really standout release to have him and Guldo all in one to finish out one of my favorite aspects of Dragon Ball Z. So that's going to do it for this look at the SH Figuarts Burter and Guldo. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.